Welcome everyone, as we celebrate the 15th organized being celebrated for Maryland's. Thank you for wearing masks and practicing social distancing during Mass. If you can stay a few minutes after Mass, we need to sanitize all frequently touched surfaces, including computers. A reminder that no one is obligated to receive Holy Communion, and the desire to be one with Jesus Christ can be obtained by reciting the baptismal body through the liturgy of the Word and by joining oneself to the offerings of Christ and living Eucharistic prayer. There are new guidelines regarding script card purchases. Please see the bulletin for detailed information on how you can continue to support our school leaders. Thank you for your cooperation.
Good afternoon. Today we are having with us Deacon Chris. So, in the name of the parish, I want to thanks. So, let us begin the Mass and receive God's grace. In the name of the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, and the love of God, and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you all.
And with your spirit.
To offer this Mass in the worthy manner, let us call to our minds all the sins and ask God's pardon.
Lord Jesus, you are the Son of the living God. Lord, have mercy.
Lord, have mercy.
Christ Jesus, you are the Lamb slain. You are the only begotten Son of God. Lord, have mercy.
Lord, have mercy. May Almighty God have mercy on us, forgive us our sins, and bring us to everlasting life. Amen. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to people of good will. We praise you, we bless you, we adore you, we glorify you, we give you thanks for your great glory. Lord Jesus Christ, only begotten Son, Lord God, the Lamb of God, Son of the Father, you take away the sins of the world, have mercy on us. You take away the sins of the world, receive our prayer. You are seated at the right hand of the Father, have mercy on us. For you alone are the Holy One, you alone are the Lord, you alone are the Most High. Let us pray. O God, who show the light of your truth to those who go astray, so that they may return to the right path, give all who for the faith they profess are accounted Christians the grace to reject whatever is contrary to the name of Christ, and to strive after all that it has honor. Through our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives in one God forever and ever.
Amen.
A reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah. Thus says the Lord, just as from the heavens the rain and snow come down, and do not return there, till they have watered the earth, making it fertile and fruitful, giving seed to the one who eats, So shall my word be that goes forth from my mouth. My word shall not return to me void, but shall do my will, achieving the end for which I sent it. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The seed that falls on good ground will yield a fruitful harvest. The seed that falls on good ground will yield a fruitful and watered, greatly happy enrichment. God's quiet verses are clear. You have prepared the earth. The seed that falls on good ground will yield a fruitful harvest. Thus have you prepared the land, drenching its earth, breaking up its plot, softening with showers, blessing its view. The seed that falls on you have crowned the year with your bounty, and your path overflow with a rich harvest. The until levels overflow with it, and rejoicing holds the good. The seed that falls on the ground will yield a fruitful harvest. The fields are garmented with flocks, and the valleys blended with grain. They shout and sing for joy. The seed yield a fruitful harvest. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Romans. Brothers and sisters, I consider that the sufferings of this present time are as nothing compared with the glory to be revealed for us. For creation awaits with eager expectation the revelation of the children of God. For creation was made subject because of the one who subjected it, in hope that creation itself will be set free from slavery to corruption and share the glorious freedom of the children of God. We know that all creation is groaning in labor pains, even until now. And not only that, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, we also groan within ourselves as we wait for redemption, the redemption of our bodies.
Thanks be to God. The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. Luke. On that day, Jesus went out to the house and sat down by the sea. Such large crowds gathered around him that he got into a boat and sat down, and the whole crowd stood along the shore. And he spoke to them at length in parables, saying, A sower went out to sow, and as he sowed, some seed fell on the path, the birds came and ate it up. Some fell on rocky ground. At once because the soil was not deep. And when the sun rose, it was scorched, and it withered for lack of roots. Some seed fell among thorns, and the thorns grew up and choked it. But some seed fell on rich soil and produced fruit, 100 or 60 or 30-fold. Whoever has ears ought to hear. The disciples approached him and said, "Why do you speak to them in parables?" He said to them in reply, "Because it has not been granted. To anyone who has, more will be given, and he will grow rich. From anyone who has not, even what he has will be taken away from him. This is why I speak to them in parables, because they look, but do not see, and hear, but do not listen or understand. Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled in them, which says, 'You shall indeed hear, but not never see. Gross is the heart of this people, they will hardly hear with ears. They have closed their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their hearts and be converted, and I heal them.' But blessed are your eyes, because they see, and your ears, because they hear. Amen, I say to you, many prophets and righteous people long to hear then the parable of the sower. The seed sown on the path is the one who hears the word of the kingdom without understanding it. And the evil one comes and steals away what was sown in his heart. The seed sown on rocky ground is the one who hears the word and receives it at once with joy. But he has no root, and it lasts only for a time. When some tribulation occurs, he immediately falls away. The seed sown among thorns is the one who hears the word, but then worldly anxiety and the lure of riches choke the word, and it bears no fruit. But the seed sown on rich soil is the one who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields 100 or 60 or 30-fold. The gospel of the Lord. How blessed we are here in Wisconsin to beginning to open up as we move back into the churches. It's very strange for me to be here in this church that I've known since I was younger. In fact, my very first homily was preached right here in this church. But when I spoke, there was no echo, because it was so full of people that I could not hear myself think. It was so intense. And now I return to a moment where we have gone through and lived through a pandemic, where we have grown and understood something that has never occurred in human civilization as far as we know. It has affected the entire world, as they have done. And in today, when we listen to Paul in the Romans, he is giving us a bit of theology, but he's also giving us the very history that the Christians were living through. In fact, Paul himself, before he became Paul, was Saul, who was an upright, pharisaical Jew and had taken, Sadducee, who had taken upon himself to get letters to go out and seize those who were following the way. The followers of the way, the truth, and the life, which is Jesus Christ. Now, Paul goes out to seize them, and as he is going, there's an interception from Jesus himself. A bright light blinds him, and he will remain blind until he has sought the healing of the Christian faith. And so, Paul, who is blinded, now sees. Paul, who was blinded, now goes forth for Jesus, and he would be the least likely with very early in church. The believers were persecuted. In fact, there was an atheist not too long ago, probably a few years ago, a professor, one of the bigger Ivy League, I believe it was Stanford, and he was out to destroy the Catholic Church. And he was going to do it through his academia. He was going to write enough to dissuade and persuade people to leave the church. So he set out to find out something. And he was very, very knowledgeable of history. And one of them was he looked into history to find out something that he could say didn't happen. And one of the things he noticed was that the church, the Christians, were growing at a very rapid rate throughout all the Roman Empire. In fact, within the first 300 years of our church, our ancestors, we who will be ancestors for those generations to come, those ancestors of ours, they grew in this understanding of Jesus Christ, and they converted at a very rapid rate. The Roman Empire at that time was estimated to be Christ through the apostles. Remember, they didn't have Bibles, they didn't have videos, they didn't have the means that we have, even printed material. It was by the word of mouth and the witness of the Christians that others converted and became Christian. And so now Paul is writing to these people. They are suffering horribly. The Christians were suffering because as they moved into Rome, which was this major metropolitan area, we would see where the people would start to die very rapidly. They would not have the sanitation that we have today. They had no electricity, no windows. There was no sense of sanitation and washing your hands and wearing your mask as we go through the pandemic. There was none of this. And the Christians, however, were known throughout all of Rome. How did they know them? The Christians were seen during this time as people dropped dead from the diseases, most likely cholera and other fevers and things like plagues that came through and wiped out people. As people in the pagan world, in their homes, somebody contracted the illness, the first thing they did was put them out on the street to die. They took their own babies. If they were girls, they were born in empire. They saw that there were children orphaned on the streets because of parents who had died from the diseases, and they took them in. The pagan women would bring their girls to Christian families to let them raise them for them in secret, in clandestine. They themselves risked their lives. What woman could ever give up their child if they are truly called by God to be mother? And so we have this epidemic going on in the Roman Empire. And these Christians would do it faithfully. And the pagans recognized them. They talked about those who would go to the homes of others and they would break bread and share it. It gave them a strength against disease. It gave them the courage to take in children that weren't their own, to literally go out to the street and lift up dead bodies and take them and bury them, knowing full well they could contract the disease. They would go out into the street and they would get someone who was ill and left to die and bring them into their home to die in peace, in love. And Paul is writing to these Romans, the Christian Romans, and saying that the glory of God is greater than any suffering we will have to endure in this lifetime. He gave them a vision. Jesus gave us the hope. Jesus gave us his death. And through that, our sins have been cleansed. Jesus gave us the resurrection. And Jesus gave us the promise that he would return. And he gave us the commission to go out to the world. And as people converted, the pagans started to have worship at the Baal's temples and the Roman temples. They had problems because as the men grew, there were no children or young girls to marry. Same problem they're having in China now for the one baby only, and most of the girls were killed or aborted or put into farms and left to die. They had no women to marry, but they saw these beautiful virgin Christian women. They wanted to marry them. They would ask for their hand. And the girl, you are a Christian, will I marry? The conversion of the Roman army through these chaste women who followed the chastity of Jesus Christ, who saw the witness of the Blessed Mother, who is very well known in Rome. These are the ones who converted people by their lives, by their goodness, by their willingness to sacrifice themselves for others. There is a glory that awaits us, far greater than anything we have now, far greater than any pandemic, far greater than anything that we see in television, listen in politics, far. One thing that the apostles know and teach and preach, there will be suffering. There is no resurrection without the cross. And this is our promise through our cross that we bear in witness to Jesus, uniting our sufferings to those of Jesus. We will then have been transformed by Almighty God in the love of Jesus, and we will bring hope to those who witness. My brother Marty, a little over a month ago, died of the COVID back in Ohio, 3 weeks in the hospital, gasping for every single breath he could take for those. In fact, when I called him midway through it, was talking with him, he said, "This is what Jesus wants, I will give it. This is what Jesus wants, I will give it. My suffering is for God. My joy is for God. All that I have, all that I am, is for God." There was a professor, a botanist, who was out looking at plants, and while he was out, he saw, there was a cocoon, and he thought, well, I've never watched home. And as he was watching one day, he could see that the caterpillar was moving and changing, and he could see that it was trying to get out of the cocoon, and it was struggling very, very hard to get out of that cocoon. And he watched, and then a period of time would go, and he thought maybe it died. It didn't get out. No, then it would struggle some more. It was really having a tough time breaking that cocoon. So he thought he would help it. And he took a little razor knife, and he slowly opened the cocoon, and he released it, thinking he had done the right thing. And that butterfly never developed. It wrinkled up. It would never survive. Because part of the way that he became the butterfly that would so beautifully fill our landscapes and have that richness of the resurrection in our lives is because he had to struggle, and all the fluid would be squeezed out through that small hole. Our suffering frees us if we keep the vision of Jesus Christ. The Eucharist feeds us so that we can endure our suffering. And all that we have is ourselves. And that professor, that atheist, he was trying to disprove and get rid of the Catholic Church. He didn't turn his research to the Gospels for all of this stuff that he was reading about. He turned to the pagan literature that described the Christians by their witness. How will history write Christians, Catholics, in this time, in this pandemic? Let us come back to all throughout our world. God bless you.
Let us profess our faith. I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, of all things visible and invisible. I believe in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, born of the Father before all ages, God from God, light from light, true God from true God, begotten and not made, consubstantial with the Father, from heaven, and by the Holy Spirit was incarnate of the Virgin Mary, and became man. For our sake he was crucified under Pontius Pilate. He suffered death and was buried, and rose again on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures. He ascended to heaven, and is seated at the right hand of the Father. He will come again in glory to judge the living and the dead, and his kingdom will have again. I believe who with the Father and the Son is adored and glorified, who has spoken through the prophets. I believe in one holy Catholic and Apostolic Church. I confess one baptism for the forgiveness of sins, and I look forward to the resurrection of the dead and the life of the world to come. Amen. Our Heavenly Father is ready to hear our prayers, so in confidence let us offer all our needs and prayers.
That every leader be fertile soil for the growth of God's word. Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
That every land rejoice in plenty, foreshadowing the harvest to be shared in heaven. Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
That those who suffer from physical and spiritual hunger be filled with healing goods. Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
That farmers and all who are created receive a just wage and abundant harvest. Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
That those who gather here in community seek ways to reach out with love to those who are alone. Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer.
Let us pray to the Lord.
Lord, hear our prayer. Heavenly Father, today after this Mass, our child Chandler will be receiving the baptism. Give your spiritual grace to him so that he may be your beloved son. For this we pray. Lord, hear our prayer. Heavenly Father, with faith and hope we have placed all our petitions before you. Right. Yeah. Pray, my dear brothers and sisters, that your sacrifice and mine may be acceptable to God, the Almighty Father. May the Lord accept the sacrifice in your hands, with the praise and glory of his name, for our good and the good of all. Look upon the offerings of the church, O Lord, as she makes her prayer to you, and grant them they may bring ever greater holiness through Christ, O Lord. The Lord be with you.
And with yours.
Lift up your hearts.
We lift them up.
Let us give thanks to the Lord our God. It is right. It is truly right and just our duty and our salvation, always and everywhere to give you thanks, Lord, Holy Father, Almighty and Eternal God. For you laid the foundations of the world in your own image and set humanity over the whole world in all its wonder, to rule in your name over all you have made, and forever praise you in your mighty works through Christ our Lord. And so with all the angels we praise you, as in joyful celebration we acclaim. Holy, holy, holy Lord, God of hosts, heaven and earth are full of the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. You are indeed holy, O Lord, and all you have created rightly gives you praise. For through your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, by the power and working of the Holy Spirit, you give life to all things and make them holy. And you never cease to gather a people to yourself, so that from the rising of the sun to its setting, a pure sacrifice, that, O Lord, we humbly implore you, by the same Spirit graciously make holy these gifts we have brought to you for consecration, that they may become the body and blood of your Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, at whose command we celebrate these mysteries. For on the night he was betrayed, he himself took bread, and giving you thanks, he said the blessing, broke the bread, and gave it to his disciples, saying, for this is my body, which will be given up for you. In a similar way, when supper was ended, he took the chalice, and giving you thanks, he said the blessing, and gave the chalice to his disciples, saying, the blood of the new and eternal covenant, which will be poured out for you and for many, for the forgiveness of sins. Do this in memory of me. The mystery of faith. When we eat his bread and drink his cup, as we celebrate the memorial of the saving passion of your Son, his wondrous resurrection and ascension into heaven, and as we look forward to his second coming, we offer you in thanksgiving this holy and living sacrifice. Look, we pray upon the oblation of your church, and recognizing the sacrificial victim by whose death you will to reconcile us to yourself. Grant that we who are nourished by the body and blood of yourself may become one body, one spirit in Christ. May he make of us an eternal offering to you, so that we may obtain an inheritance with your elect, especially with the most blessed Virgin Mary, Mother of God, with Saint Joseph as spouse, with your blessed apostles and glorious martyrs, our patron saints and burners in heaven, and with all the saints on whose constant intercession in your presence we rely for and of our reconciliation we pray, O Lord, advance the peace and salvation of all the world. Be pleased to confirm in faith and charity your pilgrim church on earth, with your servant Francis of Pope and William our Bishop, the order of bishops, all the clergy, and entire people you have gained for your own. Listen graciously to the prayers of this family gathered here, whom you have summoned before you. In your compassion, O merciful Father, gather together to our departed brothers and sisters, and to all who are pleasing to you at their passing from this life, give kind admittance to your kingdom. That we hope to enjoy forever the fullness of your glory, through Christ our Lord, through whom you bestow on the world all that is good. Through him and with him and in him, O God Almighty Father, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Deliver us, Lord, we pray, from every evil. Graciously grant peace in our days, that by the help of your mercy, we may be always free from sin and safe from all distress, as we wait the blessed hope and the coming of our Savior, Jesus Christ.
For the kingdom, the power,
Peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Look not on our sins, but on the faith of your church, and graciously grant, Lord, peace and unity in accordance with your will, who live and reign forever and ever.
amen.
The peace of the Lord be with you always.
And with your spirit, let us offer some gesture of Christ's peace.
God, you take away the sins of the world, have mercy on us. Lamb of God, you take away the sins of the world, have mercy on us. Lamb of God, you take away the sins of the world, grant us peace. With the receiving of your body and blood, Lord Jesus Christ, not bring me to the condemnation, but through your loving mercy, be for me protection in mind and body, of healing remedy, and never let me be parted from you. Behold the Lamb of God. Behold him who takes away the sins of the world. Blessed are those who are to the supper of the Lamb. Lord, I am unworthy that you should enter into my home, but only say the word, and my soul shall be healed. Let us invite Jesus into our hearts. My Jesus, I believe that you are present in the Blessed Sacrament. I love you above all things, and I desire you with all my heart. Since I cannot now receive you sacramentally, I ask you to come spiritually into my heart, myself to you completely. Please do not let me ever be separated from you. Let us pray. Having consumed these gifts, we pray, O Lord, that by our participation in this mystery, its saving effects upon us may grow through Christ our Lord. The Lord be with you, and with your spirit. May Almighty God bless you, the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
One simple announcement. Please place your kneelers down when you leave so that we know where we need to clean. Thank you. The Mass is ended. Go in peace.
Thanks be to God. Pray to Saint Michael the Archangel. Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be our defense against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God and you be humbly pray. And thou, O Prince of the Holy Ghost, I pray our God, as we defend the Savior, and all the evil spirits who brought power of the world, seeking the will of God.
You continue. Go ahead.